Imagine a land of ancient cities, thriving trade routes, and powerful empires. This was India before the British arrived. Over the course of 2 centuries, the British transformed this vibrant civilization into the jewel of their empire, but at a terrible cost. This is the story of the British Raj and how 200 years of colonial rule changed India forever. Our journey begins in 1600, when Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to a group of English merchants. These merchants formed the East India Company, whose goal was simple: trade with the East. They sailed to India's shores searching for spices, textiles, and precious stones. At first, they were just another foreign presence among the Portuguese, Dutch, and French traders. The Mughal Empire, then the dominant power in India, allowed the company to set up small trading posts called factories. Over time, these posts grew into fortified settlements. The company established strongholds in Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. But as the Mughal Empire weakened in the 18th century, rival kingdoms emerged, each competing for power. The British saw an opportunity to expand their influence. In 1757, a turning point came with the Battle of Plassey. Robert Clive led the East India Company's forces against the Nawab of Bengal. Through military strength and political intrigue, the company defeated Bengal's armies and took control of India's wealthiest province. This victory transformed the company from traders into rulers. In 1764, the Battle of Buxar further solidified British dominance. The company gained the right to collect revenue in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. A private corporation now ruled over millions. Driven by profit, the company restructured the Indian economy. Farmers were forced to grow cash crops like indigo and opium, often at the expense of food production. Famines became more frequent and deadly. Artisans lost their livelihoods as British policies favoured imports from England. The wealth of India flowed into Britain's coffers. In London, company shareholders grew rich. In India, poverty deepened. Meanwhile, the company built a vast army, mostly made up of Indian sepoys commanded by British officers. This private army expanded the company's territory across the subcontinent. They conquered Mysore after defeating Tipu Sultan, annexed Maratha territories, and took Sindh and Punjab. Each conquest brought new revenues and extended British power. But with expansion came resentment. Indian rulers lost their kingdoms, peasants were crushed by taxes, and sepoys faced discrimination. Tensions were growing beneath the surface. In 1857, these tensions erupted in open revolt. It began with a spark. Rumours spread that new rifle cartridges were greased with cow and pig fat, offending both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. Mangal Pandey, a sepoy, attacked British officers in defiance. The rebellion quickly spread from Meerut to Delhi, Kanpur, and Lucknow. For over a year, Indian soldiers and civilians fought fiercely. The British responded with brutal force, crushing the uprising. Though the revolt failed militarily, it had profound consequences. The British government dissolved the East India Company, taking direct control of India. Queen Victoria became Empress, and the British Raj officially began. The Raj established a centralised administration. India was divided into provinces ruled by British governors. A small elite of British civil servants held ultimate authority. Indian princes retained nominal control over their states, but were subordinate to British officials. Under the Raj, British policies continued to extract wealth from India. Railways were built, primarily to transport raw materials to ports. Telegraph lines improved communication, but mainly served colonial interests. The British introduced Western education, creating a new class of Indians who spoke English and studied British literature and law. Some believed this was progress. Others saw it as cultural domination. Famines continued to devastate the countryside. During the Great Famine of 1876–78, millions died. Critics accused the Raj of negligence and greed, as grain was exported even as people starved. Despite repression, new ideas began to spread. The Western-educated elite started to question British rule. Newspapers in Indian languages exposed injustices and called for reforms. The Indian National Congress was founded in 1885, marking the birth of an organized political movement. At first, Congress demanded greater representation within the colonial system, but over time, the call for self-rule grew louder. The partition of Bengal in 1905, imposed by Lord Curzon, was intended to weaken nationalist sentiments by dividing Hindus and Muslims. Instead, it ignited massive protests and boycotts. The Swadeshi movement encouraged Indians to reject British goods and revive indigenous industries. As nationalism surged, Britain tried to appease demands with limited reforms, but resentment only deepened. When World War I broke out, over 1 million Indian soldiers were sent to fight for the British Empire. They served in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. After the war, promises of political concessions were broken. In 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre shocked the nation. British troops under General Dyer fired on unarmed civilians, killing hundreds. The outrage was a turning point. Mahatma Gandhi emerged as the leader of a new phase of resistance based on non-violence and mass mobilization. Gandhi launched the non-cooperation movement, urging Indians to boycott British institutions. Though it was eventually suspended, the struggle for freedom gained momentum. During World War II, India once again became a crucial asset for the British. Resources and troops were mobilized, but so was the independence movement. The Quit India movement in 1942 called for an immediate end to British rule. The British imprisoned thousands of leaders, including Gandhi. Meanwhile, Subhas Chandra Bose sought to ally with Axis powers to liberate India by force. As the war ended, Britain was exhausted economically and militarily. Calls for independence were now unstoppable. In 1947, after prolonged negotiations, India finally gained freedom. But independence came with partition, dividing the land into India and Pakistan. The division triggered the largest mass migration in human history, accompanied by horrific communal violence. Millions were displaced, and countless lives were lost. The legacy of British rule is complex. It brought modern infrastructure, legal systems, and institutions, but it also left deep scars: economic exploitation, cultural disruption, and communal tensions that linger today. India's struggle for independence became an inspiration to other colonized nations. It showed that even the most powerful empire could be challenged by the will of ordinary people. As we reflect on 200 years of the British Raj, we see a story of resilience, courage, and the enduring quest for self-determination. Want to dive deeper into the history that shaped modern India? Discover the full journey in our modern history course, only on Brainy Juice. Link in description.